The little girl who had not taken a single step in 3 years suddenly stood up, and the first person she ran toward was a stranger. For one impossible second, everything inside the mansion seemed to stop. Her mother, Serafina Vale, froze with one hand pressed against her chest, unable to breathe as she watched her daughter, Maribel, cross the sunlit living room on trembling legs. The wheelchair that had carried Maribel through countless appointments sat abandoned behind her. Across the room, a rugged single father named Corbin Hale knelt with his arms open, tears already filling his eyes. But what happened next would reveal a secret powerful enough to change all their lives forever. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the possibility that one small act of compassion can change a person's entire world, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Heartbeat Tales. And tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? Your support helps these stories reach people who may need them more than we realize. Serafina had spent years trying to buy back the life her daughter had lost. She was a billionaire, the founder of a global luxury technology company, a woman whose name appeared in magazines and whose signature could move millions of dollars in a single afternoon. Yet none of her wealth could change what happened when Maribel was 6 years old. A rare neurological illness had damaged the nerves controlling her legs, and after months of hospital stays and exhausting rehabilitation, doctors warned the family that walking independently might never happen. Serafina refused to accept it. She hired specialists from 3 countries, built a private therapy room inside their mansion, and spent millions searching for answers. But with every failed treatment, Maribel became quieter. The bright little girl who once raced through gardens began measuring her world by the distance her wheelchair could travel. Then, one rainy afternoon, everything changed. Serafina was hosting a small charity gathering at her home when Corbin arrived with his 8-year-old son, Rowan. Corbin was nothing like the wealthy guests surrounding Serafina. His jacket was old, his shoes were worn, and there was a calmness in his eyes that money could not purchase. He worked as a maintenance contractor, and raised Rowan alone after losing his wife years earlier. While the adults talked, Rowan wandered toward Maribel and began showing her a small wooden airplane he had built with his father. Maribel smiled for the first time that day. Corbin noticed the wheelchair's footrest was loose and quietly repaired it with a tiny tool from his pocket. Serafina barely noticed. She was too accustomed to people fixing things for them. But over the following weeks, Corbin and Rowan became unexpected visitors. Rowan played games with Maribel without ever treating her like she was fragile. Corbin helped her practice balance by turning simple movements into challenges, never promising miracles and never pretending her disability did not exist. He simply taught her to trust her body again. Serafina watched from a distance, suspicious at first. She wondered what a struggling single father could possibly want from a billionaire family. Then she noticed something that frightened her more than any hidden motive. Maribel was happier with Corbin than she had been in years. One evening, Serafina entered the therapy room and found Corbin helping Maribel stand between 2 support bars. Her daughter was sweating, shaking, and crying, but she refused to sit down. Corbin kept his hands steady at her shoulders. He did not pull her upward. He only gave her enough support to discover her own strength. Serafina felt tears burn her eyes. She had spent millions searching for a cure, while this ordinary-looking man had given her daughter something money had failed to provide: courage. The next morning, Corbin disappeared. His phone was disconnected. His small rental house was empty. Rowan was gone from school. Serafina immediately assumed the worst. She hired investigators, convinced that Corbin had manipulated their trust. But instead of finding evidence of fraud, they uncovered a military record that left her speechless. Corbin Hale had once served as a Navy SEAL. Years earlier, he had survived a devastating overseas mission in which several members of his team were killed. He had been severely injured and had spent months rebuilding his own body and mind. The man Serafina thought was simply a struggling contractor had once been trained to survive conditions most people could not imagine. But the greatest secret was not his military past. It was the reason he had left. Corbin had been injured while saving another SEAL trapped beneath a collapsed structure. After returning home, he discovered that his wife had been diagnosed with a serious illness. He left the service to care for her and their newborn son. When she eventually died, Corbin refused every offer to return to the battlefield. He told an old friend that he had already learned what mattered most. Courage was not always running toward danger. Sometimes courage was staying when there was nothing left to save. Serafina found him at a small rehabilitation center outside the city. He was sitting beside Rowan, watching Maribel's latest therapy session through a glass window. Serafina approached with anger, fear, and gratitude fighting inside her. Corbin admitted he had hidden his past because he did not want anyone treating him like a hero. He had helped Maribel because he recognized the look in her eyes. He had seen it in wounded soldiers, in his wife, and in himself, the terrible belief that a broken body meant a broken future. Then Maribel saw him. Without thinking, she pushed herself upright. Her therapist reached for her, but Maribel shook her head. She took one step, then another. Her knees trembled violently. Serafina covered her mouth as memories of hospital rooms and unanswered prayers flashed through her mind. Then Maribel took several more steps, leaving her wheelchair behind. She wasn't cured. She wasn't suddenly free of every limitation. But she was moving, powered by determination rather than a miracle. She ran straight toward Corbin. That was the moment Serafina understood the truth. Her daughter had not needed a billionaire mother who could control everything. She needed people who believed in her when she was afraid to believe in herself. Corbin had not saved Maribel with some secret medical technique. He had simply reminded her that being limited was not the same as being defeated. Months later, Serafina used part of her fortune to establish a rehabilitation foundation for children with mobility challenges and their families. Corbin became one of its advisors, not because of his military history, but because of the compassion he had carried home from it. Rowan and Maribel became inseparable friends. And in the center of the foundation stood Maribel's old wheelchair, not as a symbol of weakness, but as a reminder of how far she had come. Serafina eventually realized that the greatest fortune of her life had never been the billions in her accounts. It was the moment her daughter stood, took those first uncertain steps, and chose to run toward a man who had taught her that hope was not something you bought. Hope was something you practiced, one trembling step at a time. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who believes people can change, and subscribe to Heartbeat Tales. Sometimes a simple act of kindness reaches a place inside someone that money, medicine, and even time cannot reach. And before we end, comment. Hope takes courage. If you believe that no one should be defined by what they have lost. Because sometimes, the person who walks into your life looking broken is carrying the very strength you need to find your way home.